we have with us Dr. Sriram Devanathan, who is the principal and chair, postgraduate program of Amada School of Engineering, Kasanohalli, Bangalore. So before we commence our talk about your department, EEE, Electronics and Electrical Engineering, just let us know a brief about yourself. How did you become an engineer, and what was your career path so far? Over to you, sir.
Thank you so much. So first of all, welcome to the audience. It's a pleasure speaking about the campus Amrita School of Engineering, Bengaluru, and also about the Department of Electrical and Electronics Engineering as well. So I'm Sriram Devanathan, and I was born and raised in Hyderabad, and then completed my undergraduate degree in chemical engineering from Osmania University in Hyderabad. And subsequently, I moved to the United States and spent about 6 years doing my master's and PhD at Iowa State University. And then stayed on there for 10 years and worked in the industry there for 3M Company and Lonza Biosciences in the US. In various positions in corporate R&D, and then specialized in quality engineering and quality management, and subsequently moved to Amrita in 2005 December. So it's now 15 years since I joined Amrita, and I have been in the Coimbatore campus of Amrita for the past 14 and a half years, and about 6 months here in Amrita School of Engineering, Bengaluru.
Wonderful journey, wonderful journey. Sir, I just wanted to talk to you about EEE department of yours. Yes, ours is the best, always is the best. But when you call ours is the best, in comparison with other colleges, other university, what are the uniqueness about the EEE department of Amada School of Engineering, Bangalore?
Okay, sure. I would like to answer it by talking about different facets of the department, because let me take an analogy that if you were to have a desire for fine dining in a classy restaurant. Now, if you go there, if the food is excellent, but nothing else is, I think you would not experience full satisfaction at that time. So there is the ambience, there is the service, there is the cleanliness and hygiene and sanitation, there is the experience of even as simple as parking your car over there, and how convenient that is, and how easy it is to access the restaurant. There's so many other factors. Your experience must be good in a holistic way rather than in just one facet. And I think that is what the department offers. There is the technical aspect which is reflected in the caliber of the faculty who are teaching. So in my short time here, I have seen that when I speak to the students, they are able to appreciate the way in which the teaching happens, the pedagogical style. They are able to appreciate the fact that the teachers are willing to stay afterwards and answer their questions and so on. So there is that aspect where there is a connection between the students and the faculty. But that alone is not enough. If the student experiences friendliness, there should also be the capability which is reflected in the credentials of the faculty, and they have come from very good universities with PhDs in top universities, and it is also reflected in the fact that out of 16 faculty that we have in the department, 11 are PhD qualified, and the others have a lot of experience, maybe even 10 plus years of experience as well in teaching. And they have come from reputed universities across India, Vishwesvaraya University, JNTU, and IITs, and so on. So I think this speaks for the caliber and the credentials of the faculty in terms of their educational background. Apart from this, there is a very important aspect which is common across the board in Amrita Vishwa Vidyapeetham, and that is research. Research and teaching have to go hand in hand, and this is especially true when it comes to electrical engineering, and because it's electrical and electronics. No longer do we have a situation where a student can learn only electrical engineering. The world has moved leaps and bounds where everything is moving in the electronics direction, everything is moving in the computer science direction, everything is about Internet of Things, and everything is about how communications have to be completely seamlessly integrated with the hardware. So communications plus hardware plus software, this is the name of the game, and it's going to continue for the near foreseeable future. So if we think about Industry 4.0, people have already started talking about Industry 5.0 even, but Industry 4.0 for sure, if we offer a degree, even if it's an undergraduate degree, for sure we must be preparing them for Industry 4.0. And this is where I see that in Amrita, the curriculum is so well designed that you are integrating the Internet of Things, you are integrating the computer science aspects, the blockchain technologies, you are integrating the hardware where you have the power systems, you have the electrical machines, and then you are bringing in a very important aspect of sustainability. The world today recognizes that we have to do this or mankind will find it living itself to be a huge challenge. And so with the sustainable part, we bring in the renewable energies and renewable energy resources. And all this, when we think of how it's going to be integrated, comes into picture in smart cities, and the world is planning for that, and we can't be left behind. So when we look at the curriculum, this is also being integrated, smart grids, smart cities. So the curriculum, the research packages, the pedagogical styles, all these are integrated in a very efficient way, effective way. Plus, as I spoke about the fine dining experience, you also need the service aspect of it. And for the students, it has to be integrated in a holistic way, which comes through the extracurricular activities and the co-curricular activities that are jointly supported. And when I speak about this extracurricular and co-curricular, I should specially mention for those who are considering Amrita School of Engineering, Bangalore, the campus is vibrant in terms of the professional societies and the activities of the professional societies, such as IEEE chapters. There are several chapters, and I've seen the way the students engage in these. They are well known in the Bangalore IEEE chapter, because I've seen how the Bangalore IEEE chapter actually gives importance to Amrita when it comes to engaging in events and activities. So I think the vibrancy of the campus with respect to both the professional and the co-curricular and extracurricular, I think makes it very attractive for prospective students.
Doctor, for success of a EEE department, lab is the pivotal center, no doubt about it. So you could let us know about the lab facilities and which are the pilot labs which you would say, yes, this is something unique in our Department of EEE at Amrita School of Engineering, Bangalore. Over to you, sir.
Absolutely. There are 10 labs within the department, and these comprise both the hardware aspects and the software aspects as well. So there would be the electrical workshop, there would be the electrical machines, then there would be the computer science aspects, which for example include the embedded systems, and then they also include Internet of Things, simulations labs, and so on. So you have that, and then you have of course the microgrids, things which support the networks. This is another thing that I'd like to mention, that for future, the networks are no longer going to be hardware. They're going to be communications networks integrated with the hardware. That's what makes it really efficient, because the future says we need to have not a one-way traffic, but a two-way traffic, where what the consumer needs is given at the time they need, the way they want, in the amount that they want. So power delivery customized, efficient, and environmental friendly. And so the research and the teaching labs both are geared towards that future trend in the department. So it includes the power electronics. So as I mentioned, it's electrical and electronics. So we have the electronics labs as well, and then we have the electrical hardware labs, and then we have the software integration with these two.
All right, so coming to EEE's success again depends on type of internship, type of projects that you effectively run for your students, and how effective it is when you run it effectively for the students, how efficiently, effectively the students take part in projects as well as students take part in interns.
Great, okay. So this question, if I may just add one more element to it, which is that internships generally have a strong connection to placement as well.
Absolutely.
So I would like to just bring
Yeah, please. That's it. Yeah.
So one thing is, we want to give the students an awareness of what this internship is all about. Because when they come in as freshers, they really are not very sure. They've heard that term and they know that there is a connection between internships and placement because it's all in the industry. But they don't know beyond that. And so now we see that there are two aspects to this. One is what awareness is created even before they go to the internship about what they're going to do in the internship, what that internship is going to do in them, inside them. Because the industry says, okay, if I take somebody and I'm training them for a few months, what's in it for me, for the industry? I want to get them in a position where I know that they are going to do a good job, they are trained to do what I need, and I have confidence that they are going to deliver as per the culture and the working environment of my company. So, first thing is, in terms of what the industry's needs and wants, do we have a good idea within Amrita? And the answer is yes, because we have partners, whether it's with Bangalore Chamber of Commerce or whether it's with CII. We have an excellent department, the corporate and industry relations, and they help us make these bridges and connections with the industry. And Bangalore is a fantastic place for this. So we are really blessed. I mean, compared to the other campuses also, we are blessed being so close to all the industries. And so we leverage that by making these connections. In addition to the industry, we also have the connections with the national R&D labs like DRDO, ISRO, and so on. HAL, NAL, they're all right here in our backyard. So we leverage that, and the way we leverage is from after the 4th semester, so essentially at the end of the 2nd year, we start orienting them towards what is this internship all about, and how long will you spend, how do you prepare yourself for it, and what do they expect when you go and join the industry or the government R&D sector. And so then by the time they come to the end of the 3rd year, they are ready, because then at that time they have the choice either of going to the industry, or they go to the government R&D labs, or they go to another premium institution either in India or abroad. So depending on their orientation in the future, do I want to stay on in the academic field, or do I want to get into the industry and so on, we help them orient themselves like that and prepare themselves for it. So in terms of the industries, they've prepared mentally that, okay, these are the skills I'll need, these are the technical areas available within, let's say they want to go to BHEL or ECIL, or they want to go into HAL and so on. So we train them a little bit about, okay, if you are talking about electrical systems or power systems for a plane or for a space shuttle, what's involved over there? What kind of skills would you need? On the other hand, if you are going to NTPC, National Thermal Power Corporation, or any other power systems company, what kind of skills would you need? What do they look for? So this kind of orientation helps them fix on their areas of interest. And then they try to prepare the skills accordingly, because they have a 1 solid year, which is during that 3rd year. And they orient themselves, because the 3rd year is when they get the maximum number of core department branch specific courses. So they'll start really understanding, okay, this is what I'm really interested in. And so at the end of that, I mean, I can give you some names. We've had people from Marine Electrical India Limited, Bangalore Electricity Supply, Indian Space Research Organization, Itron India Private Limited. We've had Microwave Tube Research and Development Center, which belongs to DRDO. And then we have ABB, we have Pendios, we have General Electric, we have Siemens, we have Dell, we have Robert Bosch, Bridge I2I, we have had Invento, we have Nokia Solutions. So you can see there's a wide spectrum of these companies to which they've been exposed, both from the hardware and the software side as well.
So these would be the companies who would pick up our students after internship, and that's why you said there's a link between internship as well as placements. So I would say that these are the names which would appear if I ask you the same question. Which are the companies who came for placement? So wonderful.
Because they want that model. The industry likes the model because they build confidence in that person.
I think that 6 months would be, they would be watching them, and it's a 6 months interview process. Yes. Absolutely, placement process I would call it. Now, I don't know whether it is right on my part to ask you, since you are here just for about 6 months as the principal of the institution as well as heading the EEE department, Do you remember any such students who got well placed and they are in a high responsible positions? Any such names and companies do you remember? I know if you don't, please. No, it is not right for me to ask, but still, during your discussion with your department, they would have come and say, "Hey, this guy is working in that company." So that's why I asked you this question.
Sure, sure. I don't personally know them, but I've just noted down some names. I can just mention a few that have been placed and are doing well. So we have people who are in NTPC, and this is there's one plant in Odisha, there's one in Bilaspur. Then we have somebody in Indian Oil Corporation Limited, IOCL. We have abroad as well, we have Power Research and Development Consultants in the US, which hires a lot of electrical engineers, especially in the area of control and instrumentation. We also have Sensara Technologies in the UK. We have somebody who's in fact, in the government service as well. There's the Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology. There's the Department of MITI, and there's the DT and MITI as well. So we have, you can see that it covers the hardware, the software, the government R&D, consultancies, and so on. So these are people who have gone up to the middle-level management and higher-level management. So in some cases, they are specialists. So they stay on in the technical ladder. In some cases, they go on into R&D, and in some cases, they go on into the government. I would say it is review and screening of technology development. So that is the kind of position that they would have there. Yeah.
And since we are talking about the placement, what would be the highest salary offered? What would be the median or the average salary that's been offered for the EEE students of our institution at Bangalore?
I would say that there would be a combination of on-campus and off-campus placements that typically happens, which is the same everywhere. And I think it would be somewhere from about ranging from about 5 lakhs to about 20 lakhs with this. Yes.
Dr. Sriram, like, how do we judge? Like, if I want to join EEE, is there any way to judge I am the right person to take up EEE, not computer science? So, is there any way of self-assessment that I'm choosing the right discipline when I join? Is there any way? I don't know. So, I thought I'll just clarify with you based on your experience, the exposure to the industry as well as academia. Over to you, sir.
It's a very interesting question, and I'm sure that you talk to 100 people, you may get 100 different answers. So I'm not claiming by any means that my answer has more weight or importance. It is a perspective, let me put it that way. I have seen personally that for a human being to develop, it is healthy to have their interests evolve over the years, because we are constantly getting to know the world, and based on knowing the world in a broader and broader sense, we may find our interests also becoming broader and broader. But it so happens, because of the way professional careers are developed, the corporate world says either you take up some management where you can oversee a breadth of technologies, which is okay, or if you want to go in a particular direction, you specialize, and that is also okay, but you try to specialize and have a more specific and narrower focus. And I would say that for electrical engineers, there is a scope for both, because what I've seen, especially within the last 10 years, is that both in the US and in India, electrical engineers are known for having very good mathematics skills. And this is somewhat complex mathematics, because it involves advanced calculus. It involves going back and forth from time domain to frequency domain and different kinds of mathematical transforms and so on. So I see that as an area of great strength for them. I also feel that unfortunately a lot of EEE graduates are not aware of their own strength in this matter, because when I look at the situation in the US, I find that EEE engineers are valued for this aspect. And so they are leveraged not just for direct application in power systems and electrical machines kinds of situations, but because their analytical skills are so good and they're able to switch back and forth from the time domain to the frequency domain, they are used for a lot of other things. So this is where, for example, in aeronautical engineering, aerospace engineering, you make use of both the time domain and the frequency domain. And so I find that NASA, JPL, there are Berkeley, Lawrence Berkeley labs and so on, they really value electrical engineers for this reason. And the interesting thing is that in the US especially, you find that somebody who's got an undergraduate degree in EEE goes on to do a master's and a PhD in mathematics. And they are greatly valued for that. But it is applied mathematics, it's not theoretical mathematics. And so this foundation of the engineering plus advanced mathematical and analytical abilities have great value in the industry. It is not just for R&D, mind you, it is actually for troubleshooting and systems level analysis. So for example, there is this exciting field of vibration analysis and structural health monitoring, where it could be either a mechanical engineer or a EEE graduate. If they pick up the advanced mathematics, they could do wonders. It is like saying, I will subject any apparatus to vibrations, and with that I am going to figure out whether that structure is healthy or not. It is like the way we do ultrasound and other tests for the human body. Like that, you actually can determine the health of a structure using various techniques. And I find that the EEE students are actually well equipped for things like that. So it's just that they should think a little bit out of the box and realize the potential they have because of their mathematical skills.
Absolutely. Dr. Sriram, now coming back to looking at the future opportunities of higher studies with EEE background, what are the specialization that EEE electrical electronics students could take over for their MS or higher studies?
Sure. That again, there's a lot of opportunities now because like I mentioned, the world is moving towards Industry 4.0. And so there is an opportunity for them to go towards the soft side, which is the Internet of Things and blockchain and so on, machine learning, deep learning. Or they could continue with the hardware side where they have the power systems, they have the electrical machines and so on. They could look at the integration where they have the embedded systems. They could look at the systems level in terms of planning smart grids and smart cities and so on, where there is a nice aspect of the architecture part of it, the technology part of it, and the communications part of it. These three come together very nicely there. And so an electrical engineer would be primely positioned for such things. Apart from that, if they want to think a little bit outside the box, certainly as I mentioned, if you picked up a lot of mathematics, advanced mathematics there, you're going to have McKinsey and Goldman Sachs and all these people knocking at your door, because they value, even though you might be moving away from the core engineering, they greatly value you for these kinds of analytical skills.
Dr. Sriram, as I look at it, that in the next maybe 10 years' time, almost about 45 to 50% of the current jobs could vanish. But that's a sad news and a bad news. But there'll be new opportunities which will be erupting. That's the good news. You will find most of the jobs being taken over by the robots. And that's going to happen. That's happening actually, not just going to happen. Under these circumstances of robots taking over the jobs, what would be the opportunities for EEE? Should they fear about it, or electrician's job can be taken over by a robot? I'm just giving an example. So will it happen? There'll be jobs for our EEE, right? Is that what I'm trying to ask you?
Yeah, actually, it is possibly a misrepresentation that an electrical and electronics engineer would be an electrician. They are not. They're far from it. So so what I would say is keep the two in mind. That there is the electronics part, and so a EEE graduate actually is primarily positioned, and even during their 4 years, they work on robotic systems as well. So the future, if you look at some of the exciting trends that are coming up, there is the wireless power transfer.
All right, okay. Wireless power transfer.
So this is a very exciting, and electrical engineers are the best for this, because any kind of power systems, any kind of energy storage, they are primarily positioned for this. So wireless power transfer is an exciting thing where they can get in. There is also electrical vehicles, and for this you need this, and this is very core because no other discipline can get into this. Then there is also wearable technologies. Now wearable technologies, there again you're going to have Wi-Fi, and you're going to have wireless, you're going to have 5Gs and so on. So all these, again, it's the domain of the electrical engineer, but they need to also know the communications aspect and the software aspect as well, which they are learning. Then there is also the smart grids and the smart cities. There is the blockchain, and so I think the future is very exciting.
All right, that's wonderful to hear from you, sir, that the future of EEE graduates from Ahmedabad School of Engineering, Bangalore is going to have more and of opportunities. And my final question to you is that if I decide to join EEE, why should I choose Ahmedabad School of Engineering, Bangalore?
Sure. I think we kind of started with this question.
Yeah,
as well,
but then I end up with the same question
yes,
because
I think it's worth
Yeah.
emphasizing. When we look at a combination of highly qualified faculty, faculty who have very good teaching skills, faculty who are motivated. Now this motivation, some of it has to come from inside, but some of it is also coming from the support system and the ecosystem that Amrita provides as a university. Because when we subscribe to a common set of universal human values, then we know that it is not just about a 9-to-5 job, but it is going beyond the call of duty to provide the support system that I've gotten from the university as a faculty. That motivates me to provide a support system and a very healthy ecosystem for the students. And this translation, I think, is what really makes the atmosphere beautiful here. It is not just about the delivery of a technical lecture. It is about all the things that happen outside of the technical lecture, because that is what I think fosters motivation and an inner drive and the quest for excelling, not just getting a degree, but excelling. And so this, I think, is evident from some of the comments that we receive from employers of our students. So they always make it a point to mention that it is not about just the fact that they have come with a degree from Amrita, but what is behind that degree. And so I feel the ecosystem that we have here brings in all these other aspects, maybe the intangibles, if you will, along with the technical excellence. And I think this, perhaps the world will catch up with this, but this is something that has come from the vision of our chancellor. And I think slowly, as other universities understand and appreciate this, they will probably adapt it. But right now, we are uniquely positioned in getting this kind of an experience.
Thank you so much, Dr. Sriram, for having explained so well about the EEE department of Amrita School of Engineering, Bangalore. And I'm confident by enlightening and highlighting on the future of EEE, our students will pick up a seat at Amrita School of Engineering, Bangalore. So thank you so very much for the time that you had spent with us, and it was so useful and informative for a student to choose the right course and discipline with Amrita School of Engineering. Thank you so much. Namaste.
Namaste.